Good? I think we're good. Hello everyone! Welcome back again. We are here live with another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling video podcast I run here on youtube.com/UC Campbell. You know, for the time being, like I said, we're going to be holding off on that. Holding off on switching the names up, but the switch of the name is going to happen at some point in time. There's just some things I need to get done on other fronts before any of that ends up happening. But this episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle is going to focus around Monday Night Raw on... I'm stumbling over everything. See, this is the thing about doing this live. If I stumble, you guys are going to see it. This is going to focus on around Monday Night Raw on September 25th, 2017. This is the follow-up show from No Mercy. So yeah, this was an alright show. This was not a bad show, with the exception of maybe a couple of things. A little bit of you know, they have a little bit of foreshadowing going down here, but we also have a little bit of this, you know, same old stuff going on along with it. But we also get some new things going along with everything. So, to start off the show, they start off with Miz TV. Miz comes out there initially and just gloats about his win from last night, and also puts over Roman Reigns before bringing him out there. And so Roman Reigns starts coming out. He basically says, "I respect John Cena now." Everything along with it. It's one of those. He plays off as one of those things that they, like, after you had a match or had to fight with somebody, you kind of respect him a little bit more. Now he understands where Cena's coming from, all that kind of stuff. And he basically starts wondering why he's even out there. He says he's sore, he's everything in that sense from the match before, and he doesn't, or from the night before, and doesn't understand why he is out there with the Miz in any way, shape, or form. Miz starts running him down, which eventually Roman, and this is Roman's new thing. He even though he's, you know, he's gotten to the point that now he's beating Cena. You know, he's beating Undertaker. Everybody, like, he just feels like he's above everybody else at that point. And he basically brings off that smugness to the forefront of everything. And he basically laughs off everything Miz was saying. Miz goes off and says it's like he's never won the Universal title. He's been pinned by Brock Lesnar recently, yet he still feels like he's above everything. And he puts over the Intercontinental title, everything to go along with that. And Miz wanted, or not Miz, but Roman wanted to fight Miz that night. To go along with everything. Miz, of course, he starts ducking, dodging, and wanting to leave. This does bring out Kurt Angle. He makes two matches, one being Miz versus Roman Reigns, and then the other one being Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel going up against the, well, would have been probably the Hardys in the end, but they make the announcement of Jeff's shoulder being injured and that he was going to need surgery, so it was going to be Matt Hardy and Jason Jordan. First of all, this segment I thought was actually a very good segment. I like this one. They do play off a lot in this match, or not in this match, but in this segment, even to the point of a potential tease of a Shield reunion to go along with it. Where Miz basically says, it's like, if the Miztourage faced the Shield, we would have beaten them. Where Roman just starts laughing off at everything in this one. And, like, Roman comes off really good. I do like how Roman tries to play it off as like, it's like, no, you would never get anywhere near this, or you wouldn't even come close to beating the Shield. But it's more than likely not going to happen because, you know, Seth and Dean doing their own thing, I'm doing my own thing. Probably not going to end up happening. To go along with it, so they kind of tease it around, and they play along with this as well. And it looks like Roman may be going up against the Miz for a little while to go along with it. He faces Miz tonight, and we'll talk about that one a little bit later on in the show. But up next was that match with Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel going up against Matt Hardy and Jason Jordan. Like I said, they did make mention to Jeff Hardy being out, going to be out with injury. He was out there basically just to support. This was a decent enough match. Jason Jordan looking good in the ring again. And Matt Hardy and Jason Jordan picking up the victory in the end to well, yeah, basically just picking up the victory. And what I said, like I said before, it was a pretty decent match. I did enjoy the match. It was all right. Up next was Elias going up against Cruz. Elias doing his normal shtick in the ring. Honestly, this is a lot of the same from the night before. Nothing really special about it. The match with Elias, there wasn't really much to his song either. He was more talking about Cruz this time. He wasn't really doing much more to it than that. And the match itself was kind of the same. Kind of the same from the night before. Nothing special, but nothing bad. But yeah, it was what it was. Up next, you had a backstage interview with Finn Balor, and well, I'm not gonna actually, let's go through the whole Finn Balor stuff right here tonight, because we had a lot. We actually had multiple areas with Finn Balor. So Finn Balor basically talks about everything about beating Bray Wyatt. He starts making mention to like Goldust and other people that Bray Wyatt had beaten down and everything in that sense. And he said that he was going to be moving on and trying to go back for the Universal title. So it makes it feel like Finn Balor is moving on. So you do get something a little bit later in the night. You have Finn Balor walking backstage. He runs into Goldust. Goldust is not appreciative of the fact that Finn called him a victim of Bray Wyatt, everything in that sense, and was like just basically angry about everything. So Finn tries to apologize. It looks like Goldie's going to accept, but Goldust ends out attacking Finn Balor, setting up a match for later on in the night, which was actually a pretty decent match between Finn Balor and Goldust. I thought this was good, but it looks like Goldust has gone from heel to face to heel within the span of a Big Show turn. At this point in time, or at least some of them at one point in time. But like I said, decent enough match. I thought it was pretty good. After the match, Finn Balor's kind of staring everything down, and all of a sudden the lights go out and you see Bray Wyatt's stuff show up, and they start singing. He's got the whole world in his hands, everything in that sense. And it's like, oh no, they're going to keep going with this. They're going to keep going with this at this point in time. And oh man, it was not reassuring, the factor that they were going to be continuing on with this Finn Balor and Bray Wyatt thing down the line here. You were kind of hoping that they were teasing that they were going forward with something with Finn Balor, but now it looks like they're going to keep him in the same place. And I mean, we'll see where they go with it, but not too thrilled with it. Their matches are fine. I like their matches on the pay-per-views, but this build and everything that they've been going along with this, I've not been a fan of. To go along with it. So you kind of thought No Mercy was going to be the end of it, but apparently it's not going to be. So up next to talk about, you had Curt Hawkins in the ring saying that he was, his history machine was going to be made tonight, and that he was going to end his losing streak, and challenges anyone to come out. Why do you make that mistake, Curt Hawkins? Because lo and behold, it's Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman comes out. Now, Curt Hawkins does play the smart thing, and he leaves the ring. It looks like he's going to leave the entire arena. But he gets chased down by Braun Strowman and gets basically beaten down. He gets thrown on the stage and then thrown through the video board to go along with it, as he basically just marches down to the as Braun Strowman just marches down to the ring, challenges anyone to give him a real challenge, and it ends up being Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose decides to come down and have a match. So just like they play up a little bit later on with everything on that sense, but it felt very random at that time. But then again, it's kind of Dean Ambrose, so he's supposed to be kind of off-hinged and everything, so it'd be something like you would normally do. Their match was fine. I thought it was a good match. Nothing overly special about it. Braun Strowman going over with the running power slam, but both of them put on a pretty good match, and it came off rather well. So backstage, now we have a couple backstage segments, and then an interview segment to go along with it, or a promo segment to go along with it. So backstage, you had Kurt Angle backstage with Enzo Amore. Enzo comes in basically saying he wants to have a celebration for winning the Cruiserweight title. And you know, he says he's lining up celebrities, everything, and this and that going along with it. And Kurt Angle eventually is like, yeah, that seems like a good idea, so let's go ahead and do it. Also wants to give Enzo some advice. Enzo completely blows him off. Completely just blows him off. It's like, you want some advice from an Olympic gold medalist? And Enzo's like, nope, out the door. Out the door. That was basically what that is. So they're playing off this aspect that Enzo backstage is just kind of putting everybody off and everything in that sense. It's almost like it's almost like they are trying to keep him somewhat babyface, but turn him heel at the same time to go along with it. And you kind of get that throughout the night. You had a couple of, or not a couple, but you had another segment with Enzo, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Up next, though, you had Dean Ambrose backstage with Seth Rollins, or Seth Rollins comes in and is like, "What are you doing? Why are you going out there and challenging Braun Strowman?" It's like, yeah, it seemed like a good, and you have Dean just going like, yeah, it seemed like a good idea at the time, or something in that sense. And Rollins like, well, remember, we're tag team champions. We got to protect these to go along with it. You can't just be continually going about doing that. And now I have this match with Sheamus to go along with it. And of course, Dean Ambrose kind of brushing it off like he normally does. And then Seth is like, well, you know what? You probably won't predict what I'm going to do next because you say I'm predictable. Yeah, because that's what he says. He says he ends up being predictable. It's like, you say I am predictable. Well, next week I'm challenging Braun Strowman. It's like, okay, now Seth is going after Braun Strowman to go along with it. So, this brings out Alexa Bliss. She basically starts gloating about her victory from the night before and how she's disappointed in all the fans because they're not talking about her and everything in that sense about her winning and all that kind of jazz. She's coming off really good on the mic, and basically says how she beat the entire women's division the night before. Well, this brings out Mickie James, and lo and behold, it looks like we might have our next women's title feud. At least I'm hoping we're going to have our next women's title feud on this one, because Mickie James comes out there and cuts a really good promo on Alexa Bliss, basically trying to bringing up everything that was said on Raw Talk and everything in that sense. So they're bringing a lot of continuity in there and stuff that maybe not everybody had seen, but some of the other people, some people had definitely seen that that portion after No Mercy to go along with it, where like Alexa Bliss calls her an old lady and everything in that sense, and eventually brings it down to Mickie James attacking Alexa Bliss and dispatching her from the ring. I really like this segment. This was probably one of their better interview segments that they had in quite some time, or like just promo segments, especially on the women's, especially on the women's side. Like they have been lacking a little bit recently, but this one ended up coming off really good. And guess what? It's kind of a subtly refreshing feud for the women's title. Well, one would hope it's for the women's title down the line. So it should be interesting to see where they go along with this. So next, you had Seth Rollins going up against Sheamus. Cesaro's out there. Dean Ambrose isn't. Apparently, they said that Cesaro's injury was actually going to require surgery because it wasn't that it knocked out his teeth. It's that it shoved his teeth further up, and that they were going to have surgery to pull the teeth back down, or something in that sense. So maybe Cesaro's going to be out for a little bit longer than some expected to go along with it. This match, rather good match, with Seth Rollins eventually going over. Nothing much after the fact. You didn't really have an extra beatdown or anything to go along with it. I think this is just more to solidify that Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose might be done with Cesaro and Sheamus at this time to go along with that. But overall, good match. I found it rather enjoyable. Spots wise, I don't think it was really memorable. It was just a good match. Like a lot of the matches tonight were actually rather decent matches or good matches to go along with it, to whatever extent that it goes with. So this actually brings us to The Miz going up against Roman Reigns. Yes, they did this at the end of the second hour. And yes, the Enzo celebration ended the show. That's right. They're doing like their really big matches in the second hour. I guess it might be something to do with Monday Night Football. I don't know to go along with it. And they're kind of ending the show. And this is actually rather good because this gives people a chance to end the show that typically don't get that chance. Especially with the Cruiserweight side of everything. So this brings, like I said, brought us to Miz and Roman Reigns. I thought this was a rather good match. Miz Taraj doing their typical thing. Roman Reigns eventually going over with the spear, though. And after the match, you have Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel kind of going with the full beatdown. They start beating down Roman Reigns. He fights them off a little bit, and then they started bringing in chairs, and they start beating down Roman Reigns to the point that they finally allow Miz the skull crushing finale. And afterwards, Miz Taraj is going to leave. And again, like Roman's kind of getting up. All three of them run the ring, beat him down some more, and then they do the then Miz does the skull crushing finale to the chair this time to finish it off. They all three stand over him, and they do the Shield fist bump. If this does not lead to a one-night Shield reunion, I don't know what will at this point in time. And like I said, it can be for one night. It literally only has to be for one night. I'm glad that they may be teasing it up to where they get to the point of, it's like, oh, Roman Reigns needs all three, like Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins to actually get everything up and going. Because now they kind of, even though Roman's kind of his own entity, he's kind of babyface, he's kind of heel, but Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose are on the babyface side, so they're kind of all in the same boat in the terms of the face-heel spectrum. That it would kind of work at that point. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not they actually do it and how they end up deciding to go about doing it. Is it going to be a thing where they just all team up and they all have their normal entrances? Do they go back to the old entrance or anything to go along with it? How much of a Shield reunion does it end up being? Because it's just teasing too. It's teasing too much to not happen at this point in time. So we'll see what ends up happening there. I think they announced later that Miz and Roman Reigns are going to have another match next week for the Intercontinental title. So again, they can play off of that and continue along and see where they get to decide to go along with everything. So this actually brings us to a backstage segment with Bayley and Sasha Banks, basically teasing tension between both of them. You don't get it in the match a little bit later, but here you have Bayley is like, okay, it was every person for themselves. Why are you so angry? Why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that? Type of thing. Sasha trying to explain herself to go along with it. So you have Bayley and Sasha beginning tensions. Now they've been teasing this for a while. Will they actually be going with full-on Sasha and Bayley feud? And like I said, it probably doesn't even need to be for the title. If they keep them both out of the title area for a period of time, it's not necessarily a bad thing at this point in time. Just let the two of them feud and let them do the matches that they had done down in NXT. I think a lot of people will be okay with it on that side of everything. So again, we're getting more tension built up between Sasha and Bayley and everything in that sense. So it could be leading to it. Who knows? We'll see where everything goes. Enzo's backstage. He's talking with Kurt Angle. Again, or he walks up to Kurt Angle and basically says he wants a no contact clause. He's worried about his celebration later on in the night. He wants a no contact clause, and that if anyone touches him, that they forfeit any Cruiserweight title opportunities or anything in that sense. So and it's like that's what it basically was. And then Kurt is like, because he's playing it off as like he's coming off as like really annoying to Kurt. And Kurt's just kind of trying to say yes to just get rid of him. Just get rid of him in every way, shape, or form. He even says, like, Enzo, you're annoying. And then Enzo leaves. It's like he got what he wanted. It's like, whatever. So this does lead to the match with Nia Jax and Emma. going up against Bayley and Sasha Banks. Decent enough match. No tension building here. They do have Bayley go over Emma in this one. So Bayley gets the pinfall over Emma. And what was a decent enough match. It wasn't anything special by any stretch of the imagination, but decent enough. And again, like I said, they did most of their building and story work with the Bayley and Sasha backstage segment. You got nothing here in the actual match itself. Maybe that's just a one-off thing that they're doing backstage, or it's going to be a slow burn or something in that sense, going to a feud with Sasha and Bayley at some point in time. Because, like I said, they've been teasing it for a while, but haven't really pulled the trigger on wanting to do that match. I guess they're trying to fully figure out who they want babyface, who they want heel in that one, or are they just going to have a feud? We'll see how it ends up playing off down the line there. But you feel like that's where they're going to be going, somewhere down the line, though. You didn't get anything in this match. You got it in that backstage segment earlier in the show. So this leads us to the finishing segment of the night, which is the Enzo Amore celebration for winning the Cruiserweight title. This was a good segment. I like how they go off about this one. Enzo, I feel, is working really well as a heel, or at least they're making him feel like he's going to be a heel at some point in time. And still be subtly babyface, like, because he's still acting kind of the same way, but he is kind of lashing out against the people who are now turning on him and everything in that sense to go along with it. He basically starts gloating about winning the Cruiserweight title, says he needs to retire his jersey and everything. Like, he's done one big thing, and now it's like, oh, his jersey needs to be retired. He needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Like I said, he's coming off heelish in this one. He's coming off as, like, this overbearing guy who's like, I finally got something, I achieved something, and like, you need to give me everything in return for this and to go along with it. And that's just how he ends up coming off. Eventually, the whole Cruiserweight division comes out. I like how Enzo says, it's like, what is that horrible music when they come out, when all of them come out? I actually do like that because, again, it plays off the potential of more heel side of Enzo to go along with it. And he basically starts running down the entire division. He pokes at fun basically at everyone, where he points out is like, oh, I make more merchandise than any of you guys combined to go along with it, and that you guys would never sniff the main event spot if it wasn't for him. Everything on that side. This does eventually bring out Neville. Neville is in that zombie look, like he had done, like he was when he had lost the Cruiserweight title to Akira Tozawa. Like, that next night, he was kind of like hair, like scattered around, zombie-like eyes on the back, like eye bags and everything to go along with it. Really good. Like, I like what he does. He looks like he's in a trance whenever he loses the title. So he gets in the ring, starts cutting a promo on Enzo, and says he's here to basically end Enzo. And he basically, or Enzo says, like, well, I've got this no contact clause. You'll give up your opportunity at the Cruiserweight title if you attack me. And it's like, oh, it's like, then he's just going to leave, everything in that sense. Which Neville's like, screw it. Ends up beating the crap out of Enzo as the entire Cruiserweight division looks on in delight. In complete delight to go along with it. And eventually Neville hits the red arrow to finish off everything. So it looks like Neville is going to forfeit his opportunity at the Cruiserweight title, which is actually very interesting since I don't do 205 live reviews. I was at SmackDown last night, so at the SmackDown show, so I did stay for 205 live. And they point out, and I had seen this video beforehand, they had an exclusive what happened after Raw type thing, where Braun Strowman comes out and does the running power slam to Enzo as he's trying to get back up. And as he leaves, he looks at the entire Cruiserweight division, it's like, you want him? here you go. And the entire Cruiserweight division beats the crap out of Enzo. So they cut a promo at 205 Live where Enzo's like, well, I had a no contact clause, so I guess I have no contenders anymore to go along with it. These promos were good. I'm not going to lie on that one. In the terms of if I was playing kayfabe and everything, if I was at live shows, I would massively boo Enzo at any given time. But in the terms of looking at things as a review in a review sense, these promos have been good. I liked where they went with them on both nights and everything. Kind of building up the stories. You had Neville coming out before his match saying it's like he knew what he was doing and he didn't care, and that he would continually do it again and again and again and again whenever he got a chance. He had a match with Arya Daivari, which was a decent enough match as well. And after the match, Enzo, after Arya had buttered up Enzo a little bit to go along with it, was out there and attacked Neville after the match, leaving him lying as they went off the air for 205 Live. Actually, 205 Live was not a bad show. I did like it. I did like what I saw that night. Then again, I've seen some of the character work. The only thing that I wish they would do, because when you watch 205 Live on TV, when Tony Nese comes out, you can hear him talk. He's talking about his body, everything in that sense. And the one thing I wish they would do is mic him up for the live crowd so the live crowd could hear him just talking about himself during his entrance. It's I think people would probably get into it a little bit more. Like I said, you can hear it usually on the TV side, but you can't hear it when you're there live that much, unless you're like really close to him. But overall, I ended up liking that one. And for the most part, outside of the factors of the Finn Balor Bray Wyatt thing looking like they're going to continue on, and I'm sure there's something else in there. Actually, it wasn't really too much in the show that I didn't like with Monday Night Raw this week. I thought it was a pretty good show overall. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good show this week for Monday Night Raw. So that's pretty much everything I got for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And we will be back with a SmackDown Live review here coming up very soon. So I thank you guys for watching and have a great rest of your day.